I don't know what else I'm like living for other than to like do this, I guess. So like I should just like ooh, cows.
Sorry. First off, do you think Drake's ever killed someone before?
That's my question. Oh my god. Wow, you stole my question.
Yeah.
That's my icebreaker.
Yeah, it is.
Wow, okay.
I was wondering if you were just gonna like go along with it and like let him think I just asked you that.
Yeah. I probably should have. I think he's been responsible for someone's death. I think he ordered a hit, and I think he felt really bad about it. I think he was wrecked for like weeks. Racked with guilt.
He was like, don't text. He posted on his story, like,
yeah,
don't hit me
he
up.
was like, don't hit me
Friends
up right
know,
now.
or real
I'm
ones
okay.
know what's
Just
going
like,
on.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you think Drake shoots a gun?
I don't think he does.
Like he goes like pew
Pew pew.
pew pew. He's like rah rah.
And then he like twirls the gun around like
and he goes ah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, do I be bad?
Exactly. Should I be bad? Should I?
Pew, pew. Yeah, you went to a gun range and was like, whoo.
Yeah. Ooh,
It's got some kick to it.
Yeah. Do you think Drake has killed somebody?
I agree. I think indirectly. I think
Uh-huh.
so. Yeah, no, he runs the 6 like it's the fucking Navy. So I mean,
scared of the 6.
yeah, scared. I'm terrified of the
Scared of
6. Next, we're driving through beautiful, or I don't know, beautiful is a strong word, but we're driving through the Midwest right now.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
You could say it.
Which raises the point that in your experience traveling or touring, or just in traveling in general, I'm wondering what are some of your favorite and, be honest, least favorite parts of the country?
I might be shooting myself in the foot here because we have a show there, but I don't know if I fuck with Arizona. I think I might not like Arizona.
I don't know if people that live in Arizona fuck with Arizona,
Yeah.
so I don't think that's shooting yourself in the foot.
I like being cold, and I don't like being hot. So like the further down I get a little uncomfy. But there's not much of the country that I can't. Like some of the Midwestern states in the like Pacific Northwest is really beautiful.
And while on tour, what have been some of your favorite interactions with fans?
I signed someone's Spanish passport.
Oh, hell yeah.
That
Make you
was
feel
it.
very official?
Yeah, it also made me feel like, oh, like the tables have turned. You know what I
tables have
mean?
turned,
Like,
yeah.
We give out a pizza like before the show
Really?
to the first person in line.
Oh, God. Okay, that's sweet.
And that's been like really fun because I don't really say anything. I just kind of like drop it off. Sometimes we've had to like fold the pizza because it like wouldn't fit. And then sometimes the pizza has been too small depending on the city.
Oh, no.
And I just like feel bad for the people that get the small pizza.
The small, folded, crumpled pizza.
The one we did for Chicago was like, I had to like get creative. It was like 2 pizzas kind of stacked on top of each other.
Okay.
Vibe.
It's a 2 for 1. That's a good package.
That's what I'm saying.
Lucky first person line. There were people outside the venue like as early as like 3 p.m.
Yeah,
the show
like,
was at
we
7.
hadn't pulled up, like we hadn't even loaded in like for like hours or something. They were already there. It's crazy. Do you like Central C?
Central C.
Do you listen?
This
to
is an
Central
interview
C?
for you, buddy.
I want to ask him some questions.
Okay, Central C. I can kind of get down with.
I have one question for you. I don't know if I should be asked. I might wait till the end of the interview to ask.
Okay, maybe.
I've
Yeah.
been wondering.
Any horror stories of like nightmare hotels or anything like that from tour?
Oh, not really. Like things have been pretty good. I did Electric Forest last year, I think, which is like this festival in Michigan. It's like very like Wook vibes, Trust Fund Baby, like white guy dreadlock vibe.
Hell yeah. White guy dreadlock vibe. Gotcha.
But
Cargo shorts.
yeah,
DC
for sure,
shoes, yeah.
for sure. Like there's nothing there in the town that it was in Michigan. And I stayed in Muskegon. There are clearly like families like living there and stuff. So I felt like I was kind of like intruding. Like I felt kind of bad for staying there. I've always really liked hotels. It was definitely my like fixation when I was a kid was hotels. Like I really liked the lobbies and like the different rooms and the way like different architectures of like depending on where you are and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it varies from like state to state. And shit
Exactly,
like that.
yeah. So I'm always hyped to go to a new hotel.
That reminds me of the first hotel we got in New Jersey for the Wonderworld tour, and it got flooded the night before, so we just had to go to a different one.
Oh my god, yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, no, yeah. The one that we stayed at was like connected to an IHOP. It was like an
Yeah.
IHOP hotel combination, and there were just like 3 doors that just say "Do not enter" on pieces of paper, just like taped to them, and I was like,
That's crazy.
next, let's say tomorrow, any fast food restaurant in the world hits you up and goes, April, this little music thing you got going, it's pretty all right, but it's time you break into the food industry, and we'll give you $1 billion to do it. What fast food restaurant is that, and what is the underscores meal?
The underscores meal. I think like it's fire to do it at McDonald's because there's already been so many like artist meals, but I would make it like abhorrent. Like it would be like a packet of like mustard and like 2 bottles of water, a filet of fish with no bun.
Oh,
I think. And I think that would be the underscores meal.
Just like no nutrition, no even like
maybe
enjoyability.
Maybe like a McFlurry. And then I think I would be like the way Sweetie did like the like, here's how you eat it. Like you do like the mix-ins and shit. I'd be like, okay, you put the mustard packet like in the McFlurry and then you get a little it around. I think that would be the underscores meal.
Next, what can you tell me about this playlist?
Hormone replacement therapy. This is my personal Drake playlist. I'm very proud of it. I've been adding to it like the past week because For All the Dogs came out.
Okay, of course.
I'm very proud of this playlist. Drake is my #1 artist.
I thought you were gonna say inspiration.
Low-key, that too.
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. Did he place on like your Spotify Wrapped last year or something?
Oh, I think he's been the #1 for the past 2 years, and
Damn.
he will be absolute. Like, there's no competition for this year as well, because like For All the Dogs came out.
Okay, you're rocking with it so far.
There's some like really, really good songs. It's also like I'm not gonna listen all the way through.
It's what, like an hour and a half long?
Yeah, it's an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
But Drake's for the playlist girls. You know what I mean?
Next, something I've always really appreciated about your music is just how much time and consideration you like put into all your visuals. It's like it's not just the music, it's the visualizers and the music videos and everything like that.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm wondering, I found one of the most interesting parts of the Wallsocket rollout is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but every single music video is shot on an iPhone?
Yes.
Right. So I'm wondering like if you could walk us through like the decision making behind that.
It's mainly Io Deji. I've just worked with him on like every video I think since like I started doing videos. He just like cracked some crazy like iPhone swag before he started making videos for the album. And I was just kind of like, okay, like we should just full send that because I really liked the way it looked and like the treatments that he put on it and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how far it could go till we like got on set and it was like all this crazy tech and then the camera was just like an iPhone.
It's like an iPhone with like 50,000 pieces of shit around it.
Yeah. The person that came for Steadicam for the first couple days brought this like $90,000 like machine to like view what was being shot on the iPhone, which I thought was like really funny. The ties to the iPhone and the project are like go a little bit back because like Fishmonger and Fearmonger were like all the vocals I just did in voice memo and stuff
which
like
is
that.
still insane to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to keep the like, I don't know, I think it's an important thing where you can be like, oh, I have this like tool on me, like I can just not like that, but like I but like I'm carrying the iPhone everywhere I go. Like I can just make art whenever with what I currently have. Some of those like big iPhone videos that they do like commissions for and stuff like that like feel a little unrealistic because they're like using a bunch of this like crazy tech with the iPhone and stuff like that. But like even stuff like the Locals video, that was just kind of like we just showed up. Like there's no fancy tech went into that video. I really like the look of how it turned out. It's very like cold and
very blue.
Very blue, yeah.
Hell yeah. And on a similar note, considering how much time you spend curating this public like persona of underscores, I'm wondering like how do you approach things like this interview fitting into like I guess like the underscores like cinematic universe? I'm
really stoked that we're doing this like road trip thing because it's like Coffee Run. Did you ever watch Coffee Run?
I'm not familiar now.
It's like Dead Mouse used to do these interviews where he would go get coffee with like other artists, and there's one where he gets coffee with Dylan Francis and Skrillex. And
awesome.
they're in like Toronto. They play like this like Kill the Noise song and they're like blasting it and it's like I think they get noticed or something. But that video like is like a mainstay in like my household. Like it comes on, like we just put it on the TV and watch the whole thing, and it's like very like boring, but it's fire.
It's good background noise.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like super stoked to be doing this, and I think the fact that it's like y'all planned it so that it was so immersed in the world, I like really appreciate that.
I'm so glad. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no. I like as soon as we like came over to this area, I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is it. Next, Wallsocket struck me as the kind of narrative that you could uniquely spend like a fucking eternity writing. So I'm wondering like how did you like at what point did you know that the album was done and that it was like ready for the world to see?
It was a little bit rushed, I think, because like I signed and stuff like that, so it was like the first time I ever had someone like really waiting on me to release something. So like that's why like there's a different vinyl version for Locals and stuff like that. I would have liked to have like spent more time on it, I think, and there's like a lot of loose ends I wish I had like ironed out. So I don't think it was fully 100% what it could have been. I still think there's a way to kind of like retroactively kind of close everything out. Hoping to do that in like the coming months or year or whatever. On that topic, the other day on Instagram, you mentioned that there was what like a dozen versions of Locals before you eventually like, or a dozen versions of the second track of the album before you settled on Locals. Oh yeah. So I'm wondering like that raises the point that I think like anyone can relate to that feeling of like having to like kill your darlings, like and just and like you know.
put something that you really love like to rest for the benefit of something else. I'm wondering, like, how did you struggle with that at all during the creation of Wallsocket, and if so, how did you push through it?
100%. Yeah, track 2 is just like I take ordering it very seriously or whatever, like, but to like a really stubborn, annoying point, no, like a Taurus vibe. Track 2 is difficult because I couldn't find like. Track 2 needed to be kind of like the banger as it like usually is. I don't know. I just tried so many different, they're not even versions of locals really. Like they're just other like banger songs that just like didn't work. I eventually ended up on locals with Gabby, and I like went into releasing it not knowing how I felt about it. Like I wasn't really crazy about it. And then it was like really well received. Like I didn't see a lot of like hate for it really. Just some sort of like comparisons to like Paramore, This Is Why, and like Flatline, Frost Children.
Not bad things
like,
to be compared
that's
to.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I'm not and like Technologic. Like I'm not definitely not mad at this.
Yeah.
A lot of these songs took like several tries, several different attempts at the same sort of goal. Whereas like in earlier stuff it was just kind of like once the song was done it was kind of like done, but this time I think there was like I had to figure out what like the message of each song was before I like went into it, and then I would try to get the message through many times. Locals isn't the only one. Like Johnny took forever.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
77 Dog Years took forever.
And have you ever considered doing like maybe like a Wallsocket like B-Sides or anything like that to like flesh those out more? Or
yeah, I think that's like I would love to do that. I'm not sure. I have to coordinate with like the label and everything, and like if I did it the way I wanted to, it would be kind of like I don't know, it's always expensive.
I will say like Wallsocket is unbelievably fucking ambitious for what I can imagine was like not a shoestring budget, but like you're not
a shoestring, but like we sunk a lot of money into it, and like that was a huge reason as to like why I signed, is to be able to do something that was like super wide. And like if I ended up doing B-Sides, I would love to like do like maybe more videos or something like that. So we'll see.
I really appreciate that, like, you know, it being like the hometown tour. I appreciate that it really felt like a communal effort in the way that you brought all those animators on to get the visuals done. And like it feels very much like it takes a village sort of thing, which is like
100%.
Which feels appropriate for yeah.
I try and do as much stuff as I can myself, but I think like especially now that the ambition is larger, it absolutely takes a village. And I'm just stoked that like a lot of the people on the team are taking like my silly like ideas, like the money and stuff like that. And just,
that was
like,
so fun.
Making it happen, which is like really cool. Absolutely takes a village. I'm not the only person doing it, but yeah. Wait, your notes are so long. I can't see any of that.
No, what are you trying to copy my homework?
Liz, something I learned recently is like how bad my eyesight is. I got an eye exam, and the guy was like, "Are you nearsighted or farsighted?" And I was like, "I think I'm farsighted." And then I did the eye exam, and he said, "You're actually both."
Like one in each eye, or?
No, I think it's like when something's too close, I can't see it, and when something's too far, I can't see it. So it's just like this like super narrow window wearing glasses. So I can't read any of that. But it's paragraphs. I can see paragraphs.
Right. I think an unfortunate reality of making art is that for every idea you bang your head against, like locals, there's going to be another one that ends up on the cutting room floor. So I'm wondering, like, obviously working on that many things like back to back, especially, you know, the Wallsocket is not a short album. I can imagine there were maybe times where you were feeling like burnt out while working on it, and I'm wondering, like, how did you push through that?
I like working with like projects, like albums. I think having like a creative goal, like I feel like I need to have some sort of concrete goal in order to like feel fulfilled, I guess. And it's the full package. Like the package is the end goal. Yeah, I definitely got burnt out a lot because I just like couldn't figure something out, or like I couldn't find the right like, you know, variable sort of. I don't know. I think the process was pretty frustrating actually. I think like making the music was like a little bit frustrating, but like listening back to it, I was like, oh, okay.
And that raises the point, because Wallsocket is such a huge leap forward in terms of like immersion and like world building for you. In making the album, or now, do you feel any sort of like scope creep in the way that like, oh, like, you know, this is really big and I have to one up myself again, like sort of thing? Do you have any, and if so, or how are you rectifying that?
I think whatever the next thing's gonna be is gonna be like way less scope, probably. Gotcha. I think the thing I'm realizing is like the team was still very small for all of this, and like the route could be making something that's like bigger in the future, and like maybe I'll go back on that But I think whatever the next thing is, I imagine like it'll be the people that listen to me are growing up kind of. So like I feel like the approach I have to do has to be maybe a little more subtle and less like ham-fisted. But like this project was definitely, it's like for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean? Like I think there's like storybook morals in it that I think are like, I'm kind of assuming the like median age of my fan base is like 16 or something. So I felt like it was like, okay.
You've been to enough shows to,
Yeah, I was like, okay, so that seems like this is like, if I'm thrust into this position, I should probably be speaking to them or whatever. So this project is very like big, it's very like cinematic, it's very like the morals are supposed to be pretty like clear cut. I was trying to match the kind of like storybook thing with like a kind of super wide ambitious sort of world around it. I definitely think whatever the next thing's gonna be is probably dialed back a little, but I love immersion, so I don't think I'll ever stop doing something immersive. But yeah.
Next, I think anybody that's talked to an A&R for longer than like 4 seconds will understand that when you're starting out, your idea of what the music industry is like often doesn't really line up with reality. So I'm wondering, like, as someone who took that step of signing and whatnot, I'm wondering, do you have any advice for artists who are maybe beginning to experience a little bit of traction and are maybe a little like disenchanted by like what they're finding out, like what the reality of the music industry is like?
For sure. I think like you gotta start developing a bullshit detector. Like I think with A&Rs especially, it's really good practice to sort of be like, okay, what are you like, what are the like nuggets within all of the like shit that you're saying that are like the actual information that I need to hear from you or whatever.
Right.
Because most of it's like, I mean, I'm just like a fan first. Like you just like hit me up whenever, like if you need anything. Like I'm a fan over
always
like
here for you,
I'm
bro.
like I'm a fan more than anything, you know. And it's like they're just like talking or whatever. Developing that was really important. I took my sweet time. Like I was getting wined and dined and shit, and I was like extending it for as long as possible.
Yeah. No, I remember. Oh yeah, I mean, it was Daniel Cybertrash who told me like literally like make them fly you out.
That's what I'm saying.
They're like going to.
That's what I'm saying.
Like make them.
There's money. Like it's couch cushion money.
Yeah.
Like to fly you out. You know what I mean? So like definitely do that. That's fire. You know, there's people like Quinn that are entirely independent and just still make amazing art and creative decisions and stuff like that. I don't think it's necessary to sign. I signed because I kind of hit a point where I was like, I don't know what else I'm like living for other than to like do this, I guess. So like I should just like, ooh, cows.
Sorry.
Like I should just kind of Hail Mary and like do the sort of ambitious things that I've always wanted to do. And if I'm in debt for the rest of my life, like whatever, I guess like that was kind of the thing. I also think like treating whatever deal is being presented with you as like a loan from a bank rather than like a team of people. The stuff that they promise you, if it's like, you know, sync opportunities or like just help on like creative direction or something, is like never really promised. I think like if you're independent already, you sort of need to keep the independent mindset, I think, because you're the only person that can like guide your project creatively in the way that you want to. Viewing it as like, okay, this is money for me to continue doing what I'm already doing and stuff like that, rather than this is a team of people that are going to help me, I think was really important. The money is the only thing that's like guaranteed in the deal at the end of the day. Everything else is circumstantial.
And you teamed up with Jane Remover, Henhouse, and Gabby Start for a few of the songs on Wallsocket. And I'm wondering, considering that Wallsocket's narrative is one of your own creation, I'm wondering, like, how did you go about like bringing other people into it? Did you like write songs with them in mind, or did you write them together with them, or?
Yeah, I think so. I wrote with them like together and sort of explained like what the kind of purpose I was thinking of for each song was. I think with Gabby it was a little more freeform because I wanted it to be kind of like a catch-all, like welcome to the world of Plastic Beach type vibe. Henhouse, for example, like they fit a very specific Venn diagram that song is like about. Being able to talk about that with them, I think was like really important for that song. No fucking way.
What, cows?
This is a giant skeleton.
Oh my god, there's a giant
That's
skeleton.
crazy.
Let's go. Name's Dewey, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
He found a new home. Yeah. A little bit bigger than last time we saw him.
A little bit, yeah.
He hit puberty.
He grew up.
Wow, this is just a landmine or like a fucking minefield of stuff that it is. Like we saw a giant pink version of the fishmonger water tower.
That's crazy.
We're in a town called Leroy right now.
Yup, with the Jane one, she just kind of picked up on it kind of immediately.
She got the assignment.
Like she got the assignment. We were good.
It's also so funny that this is like the third time you and Jane have like dropped albums within a month of each other.
Yeah, I know. It's fire. We're like
Yeah, you're synced up.
We're synced up.
Which raises the point that you got ahead of her this time, but last time this cycle little thing happened, Fearmonger dropped 3 weeks 3 weeks after Frailty.
Yeah.
And when I think back to that period, like that week when Frailty dropped, I remember a lot of like half joking but still like pretty somber conversations with like my friends that make music, and they were all like, fuck, I have to scrap like everything I'm working on right now. Like the bar has been raised. Like I can't, like if it's not a competition, but if it is, Jane is winning. So like I'm wondering, like, if not with Jane specifically, have there ever been any moments like that where you've like had anxiety about like being like musically leapfrogged in a way?
I remember when I was like 15, I put a song out on SoundCloud and someone was like uninstalling Ableton, and I like didn't get it. I was like, well, why would you do that? Or whatever. And I didn't realize it was like a joke. I think I got to a point where I was kind of just like, okay, every person that makes art has their own series of like Venn diagrams that only they can claim, like where you grew up, what your identities are, stuff you heard in the car as a kid or something, all of that stuff. It's like all of those things come together, and then like there's no one person that can make the art that comes from those things that you can. Like I'm definitely super inspired by like a lot of the people in the scene, especially like these super big kind of landmark projects like Frailty and stuff like that. But I don't think I get super envious anymore. I think I'm just kind of like go like cheerleader vibes. That's like SoundCloud mentality. I think that I had to like unlearn, is the kind of like competitions with your friends and stuff like that, like trying to be like who can make the craziest shit or whatever. I think like I've been trying to unlearn that.
I feel like it's especially common in like dubstep circles,
exactly,
right? Yeah,
because that's all you have is like what's the craziest sound you can make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I remember in an interview once you mentioned, or you referred to it as like a giant like dick measuring contest.
It is. It's just like dick swinging. All of that mentality stuff. Like, still love dubstep, but I had to like be like, oh, you can do different things with, like, you can change the form of the song. It doesn't have to be the same form for every song. It's gonna make the exact art that I do. I don't think anyone should want that. I think it should make the art that's inherently them, because that's what they can claim and stuff.
If you could be reincarnated as anything, what would you want to be reincarnated as?
I feel like I'd want like something with like a really short life.
Like fly short?
Yeah.
24 hours to like a week?
Yeah.
Really?
It's probably like a whole different
like vibe.
A whole different value system.
Oh, something that takes like 5 minutes. Yeah, that's nothing to us, but like that could be like a quarter of your life if you're a fly.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to be like the sun or some shit.
Mm-hmm. The sun. And with the Wallsocket rollout, the AirPods Max have become a bit of a uniform for you. So I'm wondering if you give us your elevator pitch for why they are or why they aren't worth the $500.
Yo, you asked this to Alden.
I did.
Yeah, this is the Alden question.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, it's not my fault.
We're all wearing AirPods Maxes.
Mm-hmm.
What did Alden say? It was like,
he said they're good for like a reference to like what like average headphones sound like. So you're not mixing on like $1,000 like Bayer Dynamics or whatever. It's like, you know, like they still sound good, but it's like what the average listener will listen to it on.
I made Wallsocket on it. It was like a pain though, because like it was Bluetooth, so like there was like latency.
Oh god, that sounds fucking horrible. Why'd you put yourself through that?
I don't know, because I got the headphones and then I was like, okay, well, like I gotta use them like every waking hour of every day. But every time I got a call, it would like disconnect. It would be so annoying, and like Ableton would crash.
Oh no.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But they sound great. I wouldn't recommend it.
Gotcha. Next, I came up with a little segment for you. Last night, I went around in the crowd at the show, and I asked a few questions.
No way.
And I have them here.
You're doing recon?
Yes. And what I want you to tell me is basically, I have these questions. I'm going to say them, and then I want you to guess the likelihood of the people in your crowd having like an answer like immediately to it. So either on like a scale from like, what the fuck are you talking about, to like having an answer immediately. I asked them, what's your favorite YouTube poop?
Ooh, I think it might be like halfway in the middle, but if they have an Elena hat, it's like immediately.
Gotcha. Oh, you know what? I might have fucked up. I didn't only interview people with Elena hats, but I interviewed a lot of people with Elena hats.
Okay, well, if they had Elena hats, then immediately.
Okay, I might be skewing the results here a little bit. Yeah. Stop the count, but
stop the count.
Every single person had one, like off
That's
the top
crazy.
of their head. Yeah, I got a lot of Fesh Prince of Blair. Yeah, that's your favorite.
I know it by heart.
Awesome. There was somebody in the crowd that said they could recite it because they've seen it like 500
Exactly.
times.
There's a video of someone like reciting it in their bedroom, and they move their bed so that it's in front of the door, so that no one could come in. And at one point, someone tries, like their sister or something tries to come in, and he's like, "No, stop." but it's fire.
The next one I asked is, what's your favorite creepypasta?
I think that one's a little like on the lower side.
You think so?
I think if everyone had an answer to it, I think you got like very similar answers.
Gotcha.
Like Squidward suicide.
I didn't. I was hoping to get a Squidward suicide. Or
No
two.
Squidward suicide?
No, I got a lot of Jeff the Killer.
It's Squidward suicide. Sorry.
And the next I asked, what's your favorite puzzle game?
I think that's like at the bottom.
Really?
You get all a Portal.
That's the most popular answer.
Yeah, for sure.
Portal 2, yeah.
That makes sense.
You know your fan base well.
Yeah.
You know your demo.
But they're probably just me. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
I realized in the middle of the show, I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. Why didn't I ask favorite rhythm game?
Oh, yeah.
I fucked up. I should have asked favorite rhythm
There's
game.
probably some Osu heads in there.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe some like Beat Saber people.
But 6 Impala is huge on Geometry Dash. Like, we low-key run Geometry Dash. Okay, I don't want to start beef or anything, but like...
Yeah, everybody also thinks they're big on Geometry Dash.
Think again.
And then the next one I asked is, what's your favorite monstercat song?
I bet a lot of people said Flight because they couldn't think of anything else.
We only got one answer. You want to guess what it was? Wasn't Flight.
Okay. Is it like a big one? Rogue Adventure Time?
Rogue. Fuck. I'm
Crab Rave?
Okay, it was Orbit by World.
Whoa, that's a crazy pick. Okay, so whoever that is, they're tapped in.
I think that was the guy that I like interviewed him, and then like a couple minutes later he was like, "Oh, what's your guys' YouTube, by the way?" And I was like, "Oh, Backlight." And he's like, "You're Backlight Noah?"
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, "Bro, I've been talking to you for like 5 minutes."
That's
like,
fire. I think my favorite Monstercat song is Disconnected.
This guy, that's a good one.
Pegboard Nerds.
Oh my god, that's a great one.
Yeah.
And then I had, what's your favorite video game soundtrack?
I bet they said Minecraft.
There was a Neon White. There was a...
Oh, someone probably said Undertale.
Undertale, yeah.
Yep.
No, there was Undertale, yeah. I don't remember exactly what the other ones, but they were like the usual suspects.
Anyone say Mirror's Edge?
Mirror's Edge? No, but that is an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
That fucking main theme. Dun, 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 dun.
And it's Portal 2. Like, it's like they both have Still Alive. They're both really good soundtracks.
I literally remember like crying to the main theme in Mirror's Edge. I just found it like so beautiful when I was like 9 years old.
Just some Swedish woman or whatever being like, oh.
You hear it like playing in the credits after that ending. Like,
I know, and they're like hugging.
Yeah. And then I had, what's your favorite regular show character?
Did people say Mordecai?
Every single person answered the same thing.
Wow. Pops?
That's a bold choice. Pops is a good character. I like him. I feel like he's overhated.
Oh, so I guess it's Rigby then.
Yeah, it's fucking, yeah, of course
Okay,
it's Rigby.
yeah.
Yeah, no. Every single person said Rigby, and I was like, and I think every single person used the word, he's just a mischievous little guy.
Yeah, he's just a little, yeah, I was going to say, I was like, he's just a little guy.
Yeah,
like,
he's
I
just
was
a
like,
little
that's
guy.
definitely what we But he has like a really good arc. Like
Mhm.
by the end of the show, he's like super mature. Mordecai is like jealous of the fact that like Rigby is like growing up.
Yeah, it's a weird. They do like a little flip-flop situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really fuck with it.
We're gonna like pull in to get gas after this, and the first pump we're gonna go to is gonna have like one of those like I did that stickers on it.
There was like a whole year where I kept saying "Let's go, Brandon," and I had to like stop doing that
Gotcha.
because it's just like a funny phrase.
And then the final question that I asked is, what's your favorite sport to play?
Yeah, and they didn't have an answer.
Yeah,
for that.
nobody else. Actually, of the people that I interviewed, every single one of them, except for one guy, said, I don't play a sport. One guy had played a sport for 10 years. You want to guess what the sport was?
Bowling.
Bowling? That would be funny. No, hockey.
Yeah. Okay.
Hockey, yeah.
Canadian.
Yeah. Oh, no, I forgot to ask, but he didn't sound Canadian.
Yeah, I was like, "There's no one from the lacrosse team at my show."
Yeah. I played lacrosse. The fuck? Yeah. What? Why are you looking at me weird? What the fuck? Is that outlandish?
Nah, you played lacrosse.
Yeah, I played. Yeah.
Yo, did you know my first song is called Leroy Jenkins?
Are you serious? Ever? Like
Yeah.
ever?
Well, not like the first underscore song.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's called Leroy Jenkins Original Mix.
Gotcha. Is it still around on the internet or?
I'm sure the kids will find it somehow.
And now I'm wondering, like, what are some of the biggest lessons you learned, either in terms of creative expression or just in terms of like the business, like rollout side of things, going from Fishmonger to Fearmonger to Wallsocket?
I think like I started realizing that everything can be like an extension of the art, social media posts, the way you type and stuff. Going into Wallsocket, I wanted to be really intentional about like how involved I was being with Fishmonger and Fearmonger. I didn't realize that I wasn't fully ready to have like people I didn't know kind of look to me for anything. I think with Wallsocket, I wanted there to be kind of a middleman, even if that's like the album itself or like interviews like this or something where it's like, this is the medium at which people can like learn more about me rather than directly from me. I wanted there to always be like a degree of separation in between.
Next, I mentioned it earlier, but we met for the first time on the Wonderworld tour in November 2022. And coming away from that, I was like a little frustrated that I was like, you know, in all these cities for the first time, like experiencing all these amazing things, but I had to go like, it was like such like fast pace and I didn't have like a moment to like stop and like take it in until it was all over. So I'm wondering like, Considering you went straight from dropping an album into immediately going on tour and, you know, overseeing an ARG and all these different things, I'm wondering, like, how have you been handling this, like, increased, like, pace?
I really like it. That's probably something I gotta, like, address with myself, though. Like, my need to always be, like, doing, like, something or having work, like, lined up for me. I wish, like, going on tour and stuff, I could have stayed a little longer in the new places I visited. Like, we went to Montreal. It was, like, kind of a bad time. But, like, I've only heard good things about Montreal, so I think I just didn't see, like it was, like, raining and we were hauling a bunch of lighting equipment up, like, a bunch of flights of stairs and stuff like that. I don't think I had the ideal Montreal experience, and I think if I had, like, you know, stayed an extra day or something, I would have been able to explore and see a lot more. But I'm also just grateful to see all these places regardless.
Next, you play with a lot of themes of horror on Wallsocket, and I understand that you're quite the tier list aficionado, so I have a horror movie tier list with me, and I was wondering if you could rank them from best to worst.
Let's do it. Cloverfield, I'm going to put in A tier.
Hell yeah.
If 10 Cloverfield Lane was in here, it would be S tier.
Oh God, yeah, that movie's incredible.
That movie's really good. Actually, Cloverfield goes in B.
Really? How come?
I think maybe when I'm comparing it, nah, you're right. A tier for sure. A tier for sure. I really like The Shining. I think Shining can be S. Unfriended, C.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was either going to go S or F for you because I know you had an interesting story the time you saw it in theaters with your friends.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Sounded like your friend didn't, though.
Yeah, my friend did not have a great time. Texas Chainsaw, that can go top of S. I just watched I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think it's going to go B tier.
Hell yeah.
I like the nautical town vibe. Saw can go top of A. I really like the first one. I haven't seen the other ones, though. The first Saw being in just, like, one room I think is really cool. I'm low-key putting it in D tier. I really didn't like the structure of it, where it was just, like, normal scene, scary scene, normal scene, scary scene.
Yeah,
for,
funny
like, the whole
haha,
movie.
like quips and shit.
Yeah. Blair Witch, B tier. I know, like, the ending is supposed to be, like, super, like, oh, you just don't get it. But I don't like it.
Really? I think the entire movie is, like, actually pretty poorly made and insufferable until, like, the final 20 minutes.
Really?
I think the rest of the movie is, like, all the characters, they just hate each other. They're
Yeah,
just
that's
annoying.
true.
They're, like, pissy at each other. They just, like, have zero chemistry. It's not interesting. The documentary that they were making would have sucked if the Blair Witch shit didn't happen.
Yeah. I think the stuff that came after it, like Marble Hornets or whatever, I think could go way higher. But I think it's, like, a pretty seminal movie. The Purge, I'm going to put it in B tier.
Okay.
I enjoy The Purge. Like, I really like the concept, and I know people were pissed that it was, like, a home invasion and not, like, they could have done more with it. And I think with Anarchy, they did do more of it, and that movie's really good. Definitely better than the first Purge. But I also really like the first Purge. Like, I like the vibe.
What would you do during the Purge?
Vibe.
What I do every day, vibe.
Yeah. I would do me. Hostel can go here.
Yeah, it's just, like, worse Saw.
I don't know. I guess it's cool in that it's, like, emotionally kind of conflicting, where it's like you don't really fuck with these characters, and then they get taken apart, and you're like, oh shit.
There are a handful of, like, amazing scenes throughout, like, the series, like the fucking Achilles scene.
Yeah, the Achilles scene. And I really like the idea. Like, I'm glad there's, like, a movie about rich people doing that as, like, a pastime. I think that's, like, a good concept in the same way, like, The Purge is a good concept. Evil Dead, I'm gonna put A tier. I haven't seen all of them, and I actually like the one from, like, 2014 or whatever. The gore doesn't even really look like gore, but it's, like, ridiculous. I don't know. I really like that one.
I haven't seen it, but I've listened to the soundtrack, and I love the soundtrack.
Final Destination, C tier.
Yeah.
But I really like the concept of it.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. It just feels like they never got quite the right writers behind it.
Yeah. In the trailer, there's this part where this woman's getting LASIK. And I was always really scared of that because I was, like, 10 when I saw that, and I was, like, horrified. But then when I watched the scene, I was like, oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the thing that opens her eyes was going to keep opening till it, like, split her eye open. And I was like, that was horrifying. But no, it was just, you just get a laser to the eye. Yeah, I'm low-key a fake fan. I haven't seen most of these. Scream, I might just put in S. Paranormal Activity can go in C tier.
Above it, dang, that's tough.
You're right. You're right. Same tier. What else have I seen? The Conjuring. Ooh, this might be a hot take. I think it's, like, B. I remember watching it and not being that crazy about it. But the thing that's not in this tier list, Insidious. Insidious is, like, S tier for me.
Gotcha. Hell yeah.
I love that movie. It's, like, very, very effective. Like, I haven't seen Human Centipede. I haven't seen The Fly, but I think both The Fly and The Human Centipede are, like, ones that, like, I don't want to watch.
Have you seen any of Cronenberg's stuff? No, he's like, I don't know, he's just very goopy,
like I've seen like scenes from The Fly and stuff like that where I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, The Fly is definitely him at his most like slimy and
for sure. I've seen The Thing, like the original one. I don't remember it though, so I feel like I can't like place it.
It's like one of my favorite horror
movies. I know it's like one of the
April.
like I gotta rewatch. Oh, okay. This one, I'm glad I saved this one for last. Sinister is the top.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Sinister. The kind of like twist at the end is like really, really well done. I like the videotapes. Ethan Hawke is like a funny guy. I really like Sinister. Like Sinister was like one of my favorite horror movies. Sinister 2 can go in F tier.
Really?
Yeah.
They lost the plot?
They lost the plot.
Considering how different Wallsocket is from everything you've previously released, I'm wondering, how do you look back on your earlier music, maybe as far back as like Papaya and Friends?
I'm glad that it's like out there. I feel a bit weird about the Papaya videos just because like I wasn't fully there yet. But the music itself, I think it's important for people to see like evolution with artists, both in like the person they are and like just the music itself. I don't want to like retroactively take anything down or whatever. I think it's important to preserve that.
I've seen two like very like diametrically opposed like views to that. There's the people who, you know, want that to like the history of like, you know, there are like other folks who decide that like, no, I want my current artistic direction to dictate how like you view the stuff that I've released and whatnot, which I think they're both equally right in different ways.
Yeah, they're both super valid. I think there's like a level of boundaries that I think is important to set. Like I don't want people like digging shit up from when I was in like high school, like personal stuff or whatever. That just seems kind of like invasive. If I've put out a piece of art or I have to like deal with the fact that it's like it's gonna be there forever, making peace with that and just being like, okay, there's all this like music from when I was singing like super low and like I've just kind of changed a lot as a person over time and like referred to myself differently and stuff. I think it's like still important for people to see what I came from to where I am now and like to be able to like compare the two is just important for people's own kind of personal things. Like, oh, if she can get to here, then I can get to here or whatever. Like I think that's important.
I feel like it's not easy reaching that conclusion.
Yeah. I definitely have had a lot of moments where I'm like, oh, I gotta scrub everything and then just sort of realize that it's kind of futile.
Because of how different like Wallsocket is from everything you've put out previously, it makes your decision to reuse the second verse from Kinko's Field Trip at the end of Uncanny Long Arms like stand out particularly. So I'm wondering, like, can you walk us through like your decision making for that one?
That was mainly like I had made the first half of the song with Jane and then realized that the original demo I made for Kinko's was the exact same tempo and key.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, this could be like a really good callback. And I think also the fact that I don't include the word anymore in it to recontextualize the lyrics into what like is happening in the story, I think makes it feel like more of like an epiphany kind of. I just felt like it kind of lined up in a good way.
I'm talking about this one with one of my friends and they were like, I wonder if there's like some deeper meaning to it. And I was like, honestly, it might just be that it would like sound good. It might just
be that it sounded good, yeah.
Like, I'm wondering, have you seen any instances like that of people on like dissecting Wallsocket? Obviously, you know, that's bound to happen, but I'm wondering, have you seen like people like dissecting details that you were like, I just did it because it sounded good?
You know Fooly Cooley?
Yes.
That's like the entire show is kind of just that, where it's like, oh, well, this is like about like depression and growing up and like, I guess there's some themes of that, but the creator's just like, I don't know, I just wanted the girl to like hold a bass the whole time. Like,
the curtains are blue, yeah.
The curtains are blue, exactly. I think it's important for people to have their own interpretations of art. Pretty much immediately once I put it out, it doesn't feel like mine anymore. That's like a very internal feeling. Like I know a lot about Wallsocket, but I wasn't involved in it or something. It's up to me. It's like my responsibility just to make sure the messaging is like as clear cut as I need it to be, especially with these harder topics. And I think like had I spent a little more time on it, maybe the messages could have been clearer than they are. I think it's a little bit murkier than I thought, I guess. Like the fish song, for example, that was sort of me just like verbatim explaining what happened to this like random fish. That's like a real story and stuff, but it doesn't really have much of a meaning to me personally. I just felt like, oh, is this like metaphorical or whatever? Like, yeah, I think people can draw their own conclusions from it if they wanted to, and it can mean something for them that it doesn't for me. And I think that's like a really cool thing that you can do with music and art in general, is to allow people to engage with it in ways that you couldn't have like predicted yourself. You
mentioned like the fish song. Like the fish song, to me, I listened to it probably like 100 times when I visited Monterey for the first time.
Crazy.
And it like Monterey, like it's like Blue Hour, like 24/7.
It's
like,
Monterey as fuck. Yeah. That's like super Monterey.
I can imagine you weren't thinking like, oh, I'm going to write about Monterey in this, but it's like, you know, it's like there's stuff like that where people interpret it in ways that you never would have saw coming, and that could be a really beautiful thing.
Exactly. Like there's probably people that listen to Wallsocket in like a city or something and associate it with the city. I really like how digital art kind of decays. Like an album will be super hype when it comes out and then it'll die down, and then some people will revisit it later. Some people won't revisit it at all. People will like make remixes, chop it up, like do.
Especially once those stems drop.
Exactly. It's like decaying what it originally was. And I think that's like really cool. The wabi-sabi or whatever the fuck that is. I think that's like just a really cool consequence of putting art out like on the internet.
And while I was putting together questions for this, I had a lot of my friends ask me to ask you questions about the ARG, which I'm not going to do because I think the magic of that is a very special thing and I don't want to spoil that here. But I will say it is extremely extensive. It's a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be going in, which was really interesting to me because the overwhelming majority of people that are checking out the album are listening to it, appreciating it, but they're not going to dive in all these websites and these Instagram accounts and, you know, all these like different like Google Maps locations and all this different stuff. So I'm wondering, how did you approach making like such an extensive like addition to the album, knowing that like, you know, the majority of people aren't ever going to experience it?
I made so many flowcharts. I had a whiteboard and I was like staying at my parents', and then my dad came in and looked at it and was like, I don't think the label like knows who they signed. Like you're like I'm gonna be like and then
Charlie Day and then
yeah, exactly. Like I've talked about this a couple of times before, but I really like the kind of like continuum of immersion. If this end is like ARG websites like going places, and then this end is like they hear my song on like the hyperpop playlist and then turn it off after like 1 second, being able to as a listener be on any point in the scale goes for like making the songs sort of sound like individual songs rather than like having to connect to other songs to be perceived as like the way we wanted to, like having them stand alone from the album. I think I just got really into the idea of making that as wide as I could with my resources. Hopefully it's fulfilling for the people on this end and also the people on this end.
And having so much material related to the album online in that way also made me think about how, yes, there is a ton of stuff on the internet that does genuinely last forever. Like, you know, when our parents were like, oh, well, the internet is forever. Like, there is a lot of stuff like that, but also there's a lot of stuff that like rots away with time. Like, I think about the original like Blair Witch projects, like the forum boards and shit that they had and whatnot. Like, that's arguably like the most successful ARG ever made, and you can't access it anymore. Yeah. It's like not on the internet anymore. So I'm wondering, like, how did you approach making like elements of this ARG, knowing that like at some point like the sites are going to break or like the hosting's going to run out, or in some way it's not going to be accessible in its current form?
I think it's like I wanted it to be accessible in a retrospective way too. Like people can look back on it and be like, this was here, this was here, this was here. Like have a map of, because that's also just how I learned about like I Love Bees and like all the different sort of extensive ARG stuff that like, you know, the hosting's not up anymore. Like I can't go through that myself, but I can watch someone like who was there and knows all the different things, like talk about it retrospectively. It'll live forever still.
In one form or another.
In one form or another, just not in its like original form. I'm waiting for the video essay. I want a video essay.
Somebody get on it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I got if I had like a spare month, I would put one together. But no matter how many new artists you discover, it seems like there's always going to be 100 more that you wish you found sooner. You watch the interviews. I know you know this was coming. What are some artists, if you could pick a handful of artists to put our listeners onto right now, who would you pick?
Well, I gotta say Drake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're not the first person to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that.
Okay, great.
His new album, For All the Dogs, just came out. It's really good. Just give it a listen.
If you're not tapped into Drake somehow?
If you're not tapped into Drake, like...
What are you doing?
I don't know. I was like there from day one, you know what I mean? Like
you were really in the six with him.
I'm not scared of the six.
You're not scared of the six?
I'm not. I'll say it.
Me personally, I kind of am.
Oh, you were scared of the six.
We're scared
of the six. There's like a really cool scene, the kind of like Thatcher Blackwood, but also like I think Lane's in there too, kind of just people doing really kind of like proggy creative shit. The new Can of Bliss album's really good too.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Very like theatrical. I need to tap back in. I've just been listening to like old shit. It's bad. I need to get out of this like nostalgia hole.
You're like method acting like Austin Butler and like Elvis or something.
Exactly.
You're like listening to old music to get into the Wallsocket vibe.
Yeah, I'm born in the wrong generation. I'm becoming one of those. I'm becoming one of those girls.
And on a similar note, you've worked with quite a few people in the past, but I'm sure there's still plenty more you want to work with. So if you can name a handful of dream collaborators, who would they be? If you say Drake, I swear to fucking God.
I don't want to collaborate with Drake.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, I don't know.
If he's watching.
If you want, like, I don't know. Pink Panthers, I think we can make a fun song. Break-ins.
Oh, yeah.
That could be fun. I want like a Skrillex remix.
Oh, I feel like it's a matter of time.
Skrillex comes when he wants to, you know, like I can't force anybody's hand here. It just kind of has to like, we'll see. I feel like working with Skrillex would be really intimidating. I've heard he's a really nice guy, but I'd be scared.
Be literally scared.
But if it was like a Skrillex remix, I would be like in this like pantheon of like Skrillex remixes.
You'd be etched into the halls of Skrillex history.
That's what I'm saying. Other than that, I don't know. I'm kind of bad at working with people, I think. In a context where I'm not like expected to sing or write or do like a verse or something, like I would love to produce for like as many people as possible.
Finally, what are you looking to accomplish next? What can we expect from April Harper Gray going forward?
I don't know. I've got a question for you.
Okay. Oh, you mentioned you were going to say this until the end. Okay.
Why is it called the Backlight?
Oh my fucking God. Austin was just saying this to me the other day. Okay, so the story behind that, for people asking as well, I've been considering just retconning it and just calling it
it freaks me out. I feel like I'm dyslexic or something.
Originally, yeah, I've heard multiple people have told me that. So Backlight was originally underneath a magazine. They ended up shuttering and it went to a different magazine. And under that different magazine, we were coming up with names. We were just pitching names back and forth. It was my suggestion, so I bear the fault here, but we came up with Blacklight because it's like, oh, you shine a blacklight on something, you see something there that you didn't previously see, that you couldn't see previously. We're illuminating artists that like you otherwise wouldn't have found out about or whatever. That's what we were going for. In retrospect, people think like the publication is called Blacklight. People think it's called the Backlight Podcast. Yeah. Like I think I'm just gonna wreck on it. Honestly,
I always read the Backlight Podcast, and then I look at it for more than 1 second, and I'm like, "There's like an extra L there. What is it doing there?"
Yeah,
and it's on every one. Like I was like, "Oh, like it's not like a typo."
I didn't fuck up. Yeah, no. I how about with this interview, I'll wreck on it.
Yeah. Let's go.
With this interview, I'll go back and update all of them.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us today. Thank you so much for coming out to beautiful Leroy, Indiana with me today.
Thank you, Backlight Noah.